There's three main methods to selling on Amazon: wholesale, private label and arbitrage. Wholesale is buying branded products in bulk from brands directly or their distributors and wholesalers, and then reselling them on Amazon under pre-existing listings. Arbitrage is basically the same in the sense that we buy branded products and resell them on listings which are already performing well, except instead of going to the brands, wholesalers and distributors to request bulk orders, we just go to the retailers who have these items readily available and usually buy them in lower quantities. And then lastly, we have private label, which is where you create your own brand from scratch. You go to the manufacturers in China and create your own listings to sell under. Now, as for private label, this is completely off the cards for beginners, since you need 10k plus to start, and the knowledge required to get into this method simply does not make sense for beginners. There is so much to learn. It would be like diving in the deep end of a swimming pool, not being able to swim with no armbands. And if you wish to drown, then sure, go for it. If not, then don't waste your money and time starting Amazon FBA with the private label method. And everyone else in the Amazon space will tell you that wholesale is the best place to start, but I'm here to argue against that. If you have less than 100k, there is absolutely no reason that you should be starting with the wholesale method. And that might sound crazy, but if you're a beginner and you rush into wholesale, aka buying branded products in bulk, without the right capital, you can easily destroy your cash flow before you even see the results. The truth is, you can start wholesale with around £3,000, but you aren't going to get very far with it. The reason being is there's so much unnecessary friction being added. You'll face roadblocks such as the distributors having minimum order values of 3,000. Now, if you're only starting with 3,000, that could be your whole investment gone in a single product. And when first starting out, you're going to be most vulnerable to making mistakes. So if you missed some data, you just jeopardize your whole business from one singular order. Not only this, but many brands or distributors won't want to work with you altogether if you aren't VAT registered, which you won't be unless you've done 90k in revenue in the space of a single year. The majority of the brands that you're going to speak to require you to have a warehouse to receive pallet deliveries, since you're going to be ordering in bulk, and when first starting, you will not have a warehouse. Now sure, there are loopholes. You can sit and lie about this, which is what most gurus will tell you to do on their £3 courses, but even then, is that really how you want to set off in your new business? And even if it is, just because you use these loopholes, it still doesn't guarantee that the brand or distributor will work with you. Plenty of them require you to have a physical store location for your company. Some of them require hard evidence and will even go to the extent of asking to meet you at your physical premises in person. But regardless, let's say you manage to find a way around all of these roadblocks, which by the way, the ones I've listed are only half of them, but congratulations. You can now get on the phone and call 100 suppliers, but since there's so many additional requirements of this business model, you might get a total of 10 trade accounts open, only to find out none of them have profitable products. Maybe you'll get lucky and one or two at most will. But let me just make something clear. This by all means is not to say that wholesale isn't possible when starting with less money. It is, and you can make serious money with wholesale method when you scale it. But by starting with this method, you're making things as hard as they possibly could be, just adding additional struggles, and quite frankly for no reason whatsoever. Because with online arbitrage, you can eradicate all of these roadblocks, since you don't have to take big risks by putting all your money into one or two products when you are most likely to make those mistakes when first starting out. You can just start small, test the waters and work your way up by splitting that investment into multiple different items but at a small quantity on each one, seeing what works and going deeper on the better performing products, ultimately reducing your risk overall. Because let's say you have 10 items and 2 of those products flop, you still have another 8 to profit from. Whereas if you put all of your eggs into one basket with wholesale and that product flops, well, you're fucked, my friend. Doing arbitrage, you also don't have to worry about having a warehouse, a physical premises, a website, minimum order value or quantities. You don't have to call 100 suppliers, read through their product lists and pricing sheets. You can simply just scan through the deals online. Now, most people are going to say how arbitrage is the most saturated model, since it is the lowest barrier to entry out of the three. And and it definitely did used to be the most saturated, but I'd now argue that wholesale is equally just as saturated anyway. However, that being said, for both of these models, there are more unique sourcing strategies which not so many people know about, and when you put these in place, you won't have to worry about massive saturation. As mentioned, I do online arbitrage, and if I was using all the popular strategies that everyone else in the Amazon space uses, I definitely would not be seeing the results that I am today. But because I use more advanced methods, I'm able to really maximize the potential of online arbitrage. If you want to learn these methods yourself to implement into your business, head to the link from my website in the description of this video and learn more from there. But overall, online arbitrage is a better business model to start out with compared to wholesale if you have less than 100k capital to start, and private label, just forget about it. And this is coming from someone that's tried both online arbitrage and wholesale. You're always going to be better off starting with arbitrage and working your way up to wholesale when you have a greater understanding and more capital. But with that being said, arbitrage can be scaled to over 20k profit per month, and then after that point, you are indeed going to be better off getting higher leverage from wholesale instead. I've personally done over 15k profit in a single month selling through online arbitrage on Amazon, and I've even spoken with sellers that have been in the game years longer than myself who are doing nearly double that, again just from arbitrage. So it can be scaled a lot further than people think. The truth is, both methods are great, but one has less risk and friction involved when starting, so you should probably go with that one.